Connection. I'm your host, Jason Whiting, and today we have guest Paul Watson, an Assistant County Manager and Economic Development Director, and Shirley Cornett, the Supervisor and Superintendent out of the Apache Railway. Welcome to the show. We're glad to have you guys here today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your guys' time. A lot of activity, and a lot of the public's been really following what's been going on with Apache Railway today. So, over the last 2 years, I guess it's been. So kind of excited to have you here today and to let the public know kind of what's going on firsthand and directly hear from the Apache Railway.
Absolutely.
Shirley, if you don't mind, if you can share with the audience here just kind of a history and give us an update as to kind of how it all started, the Apache Railway, and how we got to this point today as far as timeline.
Well, Apache Railway is almost 98 years old now. It will be in September of this year anyway. It started in the timber industry. When the McNary mill was open, they started hauling timber out of there to Holbrook to BNSF. That's where we interchange with all of our cars in and outbound. And so they started in the timber industry, hauling that kind of stuff. They also went on up to Maverick, which it was a little timber industry town, but it's no longer there. When they began, it was up on a lot of the reservation areas and stuff like that. And the timber industry, as we all know, kind of went away with a lot of the environmental issues, and the Mexican spotted owl, they kind of closed up their timber industry. I've been there about 23 years. When I first went there to Apache, they were still heavy in the timber industry. But since then, of course, it's kind of died off. Through the years, they were owned by several different companies. The paper mill came in about 53 years ago, and they redid the line that Apache Railway ran. It actually ran down through the town of Snowflake, and they actually had a depot there. They actually also had a maintenance of way area down in the Snowflake town of, and when they redid the line to make it go out to the paper mill, then the paper mill became the owner, or we were a subsidiary, I guess, of the paper mill for the last 53 years before they closed their doors. And that was a big hit, of course, to the Apache Railway. They were about 97% of our business.
And at that point, when it became primarily the paper mill, most of the rest of the line closed down, right? And it was just that short line between the paper mill up to Holbrook? Yeah,
they actually tore up 72 miles of track that ran up through McNary and up to the Maverick. They tore that all down. The paper mill came there because of what is there and available. The aquifer that runs through there is just enormous, and of course, as a paper mill, they needed a lot of water. There was electricity and natural gas already there. So they didn't just pick a spot and say, this is where I'm going to come. You know, they did all their statistics on it. The rail line brought in the beginning, I would say, probably about 75% of, they were actually a wood pulp mill in the beginning. And then they changed in the early 80s to 100% recycling. With the scrap paper to make paper. But as time went on, it was owned by several different companies. Southwest Forest Industries was first, and then it became Stone Container, and then Abitibi and Catalyst at its demise.
With that being said, I mean, it got us to where in 2012 we ended up having the closure of the paper mill.
Right.
You'd mentioned that it was, as far as utilization, they actually had ownership as well, but utilization, they were the primary user.
They were.
What was the percentage again?
They were 97% of Apache's business. So at its demise, we only had one online customer, which was Pigs for Farmer John, which is located at our milepost 16.
See, I think that's important for people to understand. A lot of people, I had heard in the communities initially, some feedback, while most positive, some feedback from some was, well, if it should be able to sustain itself and be able to do, and the fact is, quite frankly, and I think that's hopefully we'll be able to talk about today, through your leadership, through the leadership of Steve Brophy and some of the other people that you have there and the employees that are there, you have been able to find a way to sustain yourself and find a way forward. But when you lose overnight by no choice of your own,
Right.
97% of what's driving the business,
Right.
you're a brand new baby going out and trying to find brand new contracts and those things
Right.
to get on the line, which to your credit and to your leadership and to the rest of the people that are out there, I just applaud you guys for what you've done over the last couple of years. So
Thank you. It's been a tough haul. It's not been an easy road for sure. Over the years, we had other customers when we were owned by the paper mill. We had Ergon Emulsions, which was the asphalt company that was there in Snowflake, and they closed their facility. A lot of their business was appropriated by the state in the sense of, you know, the road work and things like that, and budgets were cut, and so therefore they closed that facility. But they do have facilities over in Las Vegas and down in Chandler. But over being able to have that relationship with them, we actually have done business with them since in some of their car storage. So, but you're right, at the demise of the mill, we were a brand new company in many ways. You know, we were owned by such a huge corporation for so many years that they did so much for us. Things like insurance and benefits, things like that. And we, the people there at Apache Railway, we weren't involved in a lot of that. So we had a big learning curve ahead of us, a huge learning curve on insurances and benefits. And I mean, we had to reach out and put something in place very, very quickly.
Yeah.
At the demise of the mill, we had 32 employees, and we terminated down to 8. So at the beginning of now just the Apache Railway, not owned by those big corporations, we basically were a small group of 8 people. And our only online customer, as I stated, was PFFJ at that time.
Well, like I said, I remember very well during that time, and when it closed, I happened to be on the Snowflake Town Council, and Mr. Watson was, of course, the town manager there. And I'm going to turn the time to you here in a second to talk about what that looked like for the people living in that area when that closure occurred. And quite frankly, I remember very well just seeing a very emotional region,
Yes.
losing a significant number of jobs and a lot of people that were scared. And quite frankly, now all of a sudden we're talking about losing another key piece of infrastructure with the railway in combination with that. But Mr. Watson, do you mind talking about, from the town's perspective at that point, what kind of was going on in 2012 with the closure?
Yeah, just real quickly, you know, it was in September of 2012 that we got official notice from Catalyst that they were filing bankruptcy, and that process was completed by December. So a very short time frame to try and determine what we could do as a community to try and keep the infrastructure, as you mentioned, the railway, from being a part of that closure and scrapping that took place with the paper mill itself. So the town of Snowflake stepped up. Steve Brophy with Aztec Land and Cattle stepped up, and we got involved in the bankruptcy proceedings to the point where we got the judge's attention, and were able to make some inroads with the importance of the Apache Railway to us and our intention to do whatever we could to keep it operating. And because of that, we got the attention of at least one of the bidders for the auction that was a part of the bankruptcy. And that bidder sat down with us and we talked about a game plan going forward to pay them off. Obviously, they had to acquire all the assets in that auction, including the railway. So we said, okay, well, here's the railway piece of it, and here's what we'll do to pay you back for that piece. And that had to, again, take place very quickly because the whole process happened in a very quick time frame, as Shirley will attest. But we were able to accomplish that, and that was the successful bidder. And so we made basically a 1-year agreement that we would pay them back that part of the investment they made. And we immediately began seeking long-term, low-interest financing. And we did that through the Federal Railway Administration. That was our first attempt. And when we...
In fairness, it would seem to be the logical one since they were created to try and help save the short line railways. I mean, it would seem logical to go there, right?
Yes.
Their program, their RIF program, was specifically designated for this kind of activity. So yeah, it was in our minds. And in our early conversations with them, this was the ideal case of what that program was meant to assist with. Long story short, almost 2 years later, we were denied, and that was quite a blow, because that took us, like I said, almost a full 2 years to get to that point. We only had originally a 1-year note with the group that acquired the assets. We had extended that for 6 months, but after that we were kind of on a month-to-month basis telling them, look, it's getting real close. They're telling us we're going to make it. Anyway, I could talk about that for a couple days. But as soon as we found out it was denied, we did try and go back and find out why and see if we couldn't get a reevaluation of that. But it was determined that that probably wasn't a good avenue for us to pursue. So we started pursuing other options. USDA had a program that we pursued, but now we had to do it in a very short time frame. Long story short, let's get to the good part, right? The good news is that Aztec Land and Cattle, along with another investment partner, along with some financing through the Arizona Commerce Authorities alone, and an associated bank with Commerce Authority, they were able to put the pieces together and do that in the time frame necessary to acquire those assets and take the investment group out of the picture. So we're in a good place today, right, Shirley?
We're in a great place today.
We have a group that owns the railway that truly has the interest of keeping it for the economic future of the area, and that's a great thing.
No, and I certainly would agree. I remember very well. I mean, that process, it seemed like everything was going down the tracks, if you will, very well, and then it derailed. And it was kind of all hands on deck. And if I may, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I understand correctly, I know that there was a group from Snowflake was always at the table, and I know that those council people, their mayor, and we, until we left, went over to the county, were heavily involved in that. And then moving over to the county side of things, we also helped to bring the county to the table, the county, and then with the leadership of Steve Brophy, yourself, and then we also had a lot of help from a lot of the state leaders, Senator McCain, right. Senator Flake, Representative Kirkpatrick, the governor himself, many of people that work with and for the governor all came together to try and see if we couldn't find a way to partner and help keep this key piece of infrastructure here and allow the private sector to find a way forward, which they absolutely did, you know. And in the meantime, so we've got that picture, how we got the success that was moving forward, and all these things to try and find and secure the financing. Oh, but by the way, we still got to operate the railroad and keep everything going and get
right.
new contracts on board. That being said, if you don't mind, Shirley, and I know that we probably are getting a little bit short on time, but if you don't mind, what was going on there with the employees? I mean, to me, if I know that this is how I feed my family, and there's a real risk that this is going to be around tomorrow, I might start looking for a job.
Right.
And if you start having employees jumping ship, you start losing contracts, and you start losing the ability to be able to hold everything together while everybody else is trying to find financing.
Absolutely.
So you truly kept the core going forward, and the employees, and I can't tell you enough how much I respect you and those employees for all that you guys did. It was very impressive that you guys were able to keep everything together, keep those employees. I think I shared at the board meeting the way that I see it is people locked arms, looked each other in the eyes and said, I'll stand by you if you stand by me.
And that's exactly how it was. When you go to your employees and you tell them, I can give you a job today, but I don't know what tomorrow holds for this railroad. I don't know where we're headed, especially after the letdown of the RIF loan, because we had worked and hammered at that for so long. And knowing that now we were under this time constraint. But these people are amazing. They just band together and said, we're going to be here, and we're going to be here until they shut the doors. And they stuck together. But in the process of that, we had to decide what kind of business are we going to run. With one online customer, that wasn't going to keep the doors open. It wasn't going to keep us, in the black as far as, our bottom line goes. So we reached out to BNSF, and BNSF is a big partner for the railroad. Again, we only interchange with them. That's our only interchanges in Holbrook with them. But we reached out to them. We had done car repair under compliances, FRA compliances and things like that. So we had a history with them, and them knowing our work and knowing, our reputation. And so we reached out to them and said, what can we do for car repair? And they said, well, we'll send you some cars. These are reworked cars, and it was a learning curve for all of the people that were there because we'd never done that heavy type repair work on rail cars before. But again, we'd been doing just the FRA compliance issues and things like that of anything that came on our line. So they sent us some cars, we did the work, they were impressed with our work. Again, having that relationship over the years with those people, not only on a local level, but all the way up into the corporations, is what helped us. So they gave us some cars, we went to work, those guys just went at it, and as anything new, it's kind of a process. You start out slow, learning and understanding what to do first type thing. So we were taking baby steps in doing that car repair. But they were impressed with our work, so BNSF said, we have our contracts are coming up for bid, and we'd like you guys to be in on that. So we started bidding out car repair contracts, and we were very fortunate that we were able to get, in the beginning, one car repair contract with BNSF. But doing that, not only in doing that, it opened the door in other parts of the railroad industry for Apache with BNSF. In early 2015, we started into car cleaning. We do a dry car cleaning there. And they asked us if we'd be interested, and we said absolutely. But really what carried us was the car shop. But we started looking at what do we have here? Well, we have a whole lot of rail line that we weren't using. So we went into car storage right at the beginning. At the same time, we started into some light car repair. And we store for several different companies. As I mentioned, Ergon, they're no longer in Snowflake, but we kept that relationship. Start calling them on the phone. At certain times of years, it's as with any business, sometimes it's high and sometimes it's low. Well, when you're a car owner or you lease cars, you have to find a place for those cars if they're not moving up and down the rail. So we have 6 miles of branch line that goes down into Snowflake. So we started storing for Ergon, Preferred Sands, who's over in Sanders, Phillips 66, Western Refining, and we also started storing BNSF intermodal cars. And those come in long trains. Those come in as a unit. They can be 1.5 miles to 2 miles long. So we started into that so that we could basically turn our red into a black and show that we could carry ourselves, and that we could, when and if the financing happened the way it was supposed to, that we would be able to repay those loans. And we did it, and we've grown our workforce now. We have 21 employees, and we're actually in the hiring process right now for another 5 more. So we're just going to continue to grow. We rebid in late 2015, we rebid car repair contracts, and we got a couple of car repair contracts with BNSF. We secured a car repair contract with Preferred Sands. Some of their cars were having to go all the way back to Nebraska for car repair. Well, we were right around the corner, and because we had that relationship with them, they asked us, can you guys do these? Absolutely, we can do it for you. So we've actually closed that contract and secured that at the end of 2015, but we worked the cars in the whole year of 2015. So the relationships over time is what's been able to carry us, for us reaching out, in the reputation of the Apache Railway and their work ethics. And we've done, I'm so proud of my people, because I can go out and I can get the business, but I can't go out there and I can't work the cars. I can't do that type stuff. So I rely on those people, and they're a great bunch of people to work with. So.
It's kind of the dream team. When I've had a chance to go out there, I absolutely understand why it's been able to be successful, and I've had a chance to meet some of those people that work there with you and for you, and you really do have a good team. I mean, you look at what was able to occur, and it really, this is one of the reasons why I love doing what I do, and being able to be a part of and trying to find ways to help open doors to work with people like yourself, so you guys can walk through those doors. And you guys did it all. I mean, what you guys did, and able to get contracts and able to keep the employees happy and there, and really, quite frankly, preparing yourself so that when a door was opened, that the financing made sense.
Right.
You know, and it's tremendous to really, I don't know that people can really understand what you guys really went through, what you were able to accomplish, but it's tremendous, and I congratulate you on what you're able to do. And quite frankly, I think it's opened a new door, and we're in a new season for Navajo County.
Absolutely.
Looking forward now. I mean, I know with Mr. Watson and myself, as we've met with a number of businesses that have looked at coming into this area, specifically in the way of manufacturing and those types of things, every single one of them, I mean, sincerely, I think almost every single one of them have mentioned the Apache Railway being a key piece of infrastructure in order for them to consider the opportunity to be here. And I know right now that you guys are currently working with some opportunities that could be a significant number of jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And we're excited about that, because we have the car repair and the car storage, that sort of thing. But you know, we're a freight railroad. That's where we got our start from, and that's where, you know, what really is the money maker in any kind of a railroad is the freight part of it. So we're hoping that this opportunity turns into something much larger than we've ever really done before. It will be something different for the Apache Railway. It'll be unit trains of cars that we've never done before. It's going to take some more training because they'll be called shuttle trains, and we'll be using BNSF power to bring them in on. So we have to go out and we have to spend some money to train our people to be able to actually drive the BNSF engines, because they're nothing like ours. We run the Alcos, and they're old, but they're the workhorses from, you know, the 60s. They were actually, each one of them, 63 and 64 series. We have 7 of them. And so another learning curve for Apache Railway, but an opportunity that we hope comes to life for sure.
Well, it's exciting to see this new horizon and new opportunities. I mean, you go back and look at big picture what went on, you know, I mean, brand new baby, a lot of people saying, hey, it should be able to sustain itself. I don't know, my babies, I love my kids, they're great kids, but if we would have let them be on their own at that young of an age, I don't know how well they would have done. But by standing and working together, that's one of the reasons why I love living up here, and I'm proud to raise my family in this region, is how people work together and come together, especially for good causes like this, and finding a way forward. And now you guys have your feet underneath you. You guys have got a way forward, and quite frankly, because of it, we have some opportunities to try and really help out some of our people here in Navajo County that are needing jobs, and we know that we need jobs, and we're looking for opportunities. And another person I want to make sure that we talk about, I understand that Hormel's one of the contracts that you work with.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I know that they worked a lot in partnership with this as well. So
it was important to them to have that rail line there. Feed cars, they have feed cars coming from Nebraska all the way, you know, across the United States, and they can't get their product. They have 3 different types of product that they bring in, and they couldn't just get it from any place local. They might be able to get some of it from out of New Mexico, but it's further out, and as far as rail versus truck, it's a lot cheaper to move it by rail. So they were, but they were in the midst of the helping too, knowing that they needed the Apache Railway to be there for their future as well.
A great story that was able to, I mean, the significant number of jobs there, and able to work with the Apache Railway, save those jobs, save the jobs of the Hormel potentially, and bringing new jobs to, and a new season to Navajo County. I understand we're about out of time, so we're going to have to wrap this up. I sincerely appreciate you being here today, having the opportunity to be able to talk with us about everything that's gone on, and we thank you for joining us on Navajo County Connection, and we'll see you next month.